我最讨厌的就是发工资的这一天。
Every month on payday, it's supposed to be a happy moment, but for me, it's completely the opposite. I am now divorced, and only now do I feel what marriage has truly brought me. I realize that my impulsive divorce only left me with nothing, and what's worse, I'm left with a 2-month-old baby. I also have a debt of 100,000 yuan, and now, I'm the only one bearing all these burdens alone. Payday has actually become the day I dread the most each month. Even though I've worked hard the entire month, almost all the money I earn goes towards paying off debt, leaving me no room or time to enjoy it. You might not understand this feeling. It's a mix of disgust and pressure that's hard to describe. Even though I feel resentful inside, constantly thinking it's unfair, reality forces you to accept it no matter how much you resist. My work performance last month was just average. I work at a gym, where I teach 3 to 4 classes per day on average, and sometimes when it's busy, I teach 5 or 6 classes in a day. But each class only earns me a little over 60 yuan. When you do the math, my full-time salary is about 7,000 yuan, and combined with part-time work I sometimes do at a supermarket, which brings in about 3,000 yuan, my total monthly income is just over 10,000 yuan. On the surface, it seems decent, but in reality, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Today, I just got my salary and immediately started paying off debts. I was originally planning to pay part of the loan first, but the high interest broke my heart, so I gritted my teeth and paid off over 4,500 yuan in full. Besides that, I have 2 credit cards to pay off, one for 1,800 yuan and the other for 1,000 yuan, so in total, I paid about 7,500 yuan. After all that, I'm left with only 3,300 yuan. I had planned to give my mom 2,000 yuan as living expenses, since she's been the one helping me take care of my child after the divorce. But with only 1,000 yuan left, I can't even cover my own living costs, let alone provide for my mother. Even though she would never blame me and would say, "You don't need to give me anything, keep it for yourself," I feel terrible inside. After working my fingers to the bone for a whole month, I can't even afford to give my mom 2,000 yuan. It really weighs on me. This feeling is so hard to bear, and I'm not sure if anyone can understand it. I realize now that my divorce was impulsive. I thought my husband was inadequate, thinking I didn't need him. I was the one who asked for the divorce, believing I could raise my child on my own and that I didn't need a man. Now my ex-husband doesn't pay any child support, nor does he share the debt. All the financial burdens have fallen solely on my shoulders. Last month, I didn't take a single day off. I worked tirelessly day and night, both full-time and part-time, without daring to rest. I even had friends invite me out to relax, to take a short trip, but I didn't dare to go. If I miss just 3 classes, I'll lose 200 yuan. This constant pressure keeps me from taking a break. But life goes on, and I know I'll have to keep pushing next month as well. Facing this situation, I really don't know what else to say. Payday should be something to look forward to, but instead, it feels like a burden. The money I earn disappears as quickly as it arrives, and now, the crushing weight of financial pressure is suffocating me. I can't help but feel that life is deeply unfair.
我为什么离婚不要孩子？
Now, why did I decide to choose divorce and not take the child with me? When the child was less than a year old, we got divorced. At that time, I hadn't really left home. If I had been more resolute, if I had my own place to live, if my family had given me more support, I think I wouldn't have chosen divorce without leaving home. The reality I faced was, if I took the child with me, I would almost have no way to survive. If I left the child with his father, I couldn't bear it. This dilemma left me with no choice but to endure. Even though I always felt I was blind to have married such an incompetent man, I didn't leave that home. I endured for 3 years until last year, when he brought another woman into the house. I finally made up my mind and moved out with the child. No one will understand the hardships of the past year. I had no economic foundation at all. I took care of the child while struggling to do small businesses. I didn't even have a fixed place to live, let alone pay for the child's education. I even started to question whether I was being selfish by not letting the child suffer with me. Some might say that no matter how bad the situation, a child is always happy with their mother. I admit that right now the child needs his mother's company, but as he grows older, 10 years old, 15, or even 20, he'll need much more than just company. When he needs financial support as he grows up, what can I offer? That's why I must tell everyone a truth today. Just because you take the child with you after a divorce, it doesn't mean you are the victor, and it doesn't necessarily mean that your relationship with the child will improve. In fact, children often have higher expectations of the parent they didn't live with. This expectation is like the saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. The longer a child spends time with their mother, the more they may find her annoying, even thinking that many of her efforts are thankless. Furthermore, children tend to favor the parent who appears more well-off, better looking, more educated, and with more social resources. Frankly speaking, children are naturally a bit selfish and materialistic. So, even if you didn't raise them, but every time you see them, you dress well, look vibrant, and give them gifts or red envelopes, they will think of you as a wonderful mother. This won't harm your relationship with your child. So, what really affects the parent-child relationship? It's when you, despite having limited resources, insist on keeping the child with you and live a tough life without anyone's help. In this situation, you may subconsciously start to complain, thinking that your current hardships are all because of the child. This kind of resentment and pressure is what truly harms the child. Therefore, I've decided to leave the child with my ex-husband. I don't want to fight with him for custody anymore. If I had the means, I wouldn't have made this decision. You can all scold me if you want. I truly have no other option. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to leave the child with my ex-husband. At least his current conditions are better than mine, and besides, he is also the child's biological father. Should I take the child and raise him while my ex-husband lives a carefree life? I used to be so naive, always thinking I had to keep the child with me and protect him at all costs. But I have to admit that I don't have the ability to give him a better life right now. My only goal now is to make money, and I hope that one day, when I become more successful and have better conditions, my child will naturally come back to me. Isn't that right?
这几天我做了一个决定，我打算起诉前夫要抚养费。
Recently, I made a major decision to sue my ex-husband and demand that he pay the overdue child support. From our divorce until now, it's been 8.5 years, during which he owes 6 years and 9 months of child support. Over the years, I hadn't sued him for a couple of reasons. On one hand, I felt that raising children is the responsibility of both parents, something that should be guided by one's conscience. On the other hand, I considered that maybe he truly was facing difficulties. Besides, I'm a strong-willed person and didn't want to be entangled with him any further. I believed that through my own efforts, no matter how hard or exhausting it was, I could raise our 2 children on my own. I never counted on him, nor did I ever depend on him. I firmly believed that no matter how tough things got, as long as I persevered, I could provide a decent living environment for my kids by myself. So, I chose not to disturb his life, thinking that leaving him alone was also freeing myself, and perhaps this was a good thing for both of us. But recently, after talking with my friends about my ex-husband, they all strongly suggested that I pursue the child support. They pointed out that if I don't take legal action now, when he gets older, the kids might face moral pressure and feel obligated to support him. Even if I sue him now, and he still refuses to pay child support, at least I will have a legal record, and whether the kids choose to support him in the future will be their own decision. I've never spoken ill of their father in front of my children. I always felt that the grudges between me and my ex-husband are matters between us adults and have nothing to do with the kids. As for how they treat their father in the future, that's entirely their decision. I won't put any pressure on them, nor will I interfere with their choices. Perhaps because of this, my 2 kids are living happily and healthily, just like any other children from ordinary families. So this time, I decided to sue my ex-husband for the overdue child support. Honestly, the money itself no longer matters to me, as I never had any expectations of him. My sole purpose is to obtain a legal record, to provide some protection for the children. Whether he ends up paying or not is no longer important. The future decision on how the kids will treat their father will be entirely up to them. Today is the weekend, and I plan to rest at home for the day. In the morning, I went to the market and bought a fish, planning to have it with my son for dinner. My daughter went to a friend's house to do homework, and her friend's mother called to say that my daughter would stay for dinner and not come home. The fish is already in the pot, and I had some leftover rice from lunch. I also steamed 2 pumpkin buns and plan to wash some vermicelli to stew with the fish. My son especially loves fish, and the vermicelli in the pot is also quite tasty. Regarding the matter of suing my ex-husband for child support, I have no experience at all and don't know where to start. Should I consult a lawyer first? If any sisters have had similar experiences, could you please share how I should proceed?
其实压在我身上的最后一根稻草就是我想找前夫养抚养费的时候呢
The last straw that broke me was when I was considering asking my ex-husband for child support, and my friend suddenly said to me, "Are you crazy for money? Doing this is so embarrassing." At that moment, I felt extremely embarrassed, like I wanted to disappear. Actually, it has been 5 years since we divorced. During this time, he has never once called the child, nor has he ever cared about the child's life, let alone paid any child support. And in these 5 years, I have never asked him for child support. The only reason is that my self-esteem couldn't bear it. I felt like asking for money was like begging. When we divorced, I believed I had the ability to raise my child alone, that I could live better without a man. Moreover, when my child was still young, I was particularly afraid that my child would witness their parents tearing each other apart over a few thousand yuan of child support. I didn't know what kind of psychological damage such a scene would cause to my child. So, for the past 5 years, even in my most difficult and exhausted moments, I gritted my teeth and persisted, never asking him for a penny. However, as the child grew older, the family's expenses in all aspects have indeed increased. On the other hand, I suddenly realized, why has my legitimate and reasonable request turned into something shameful in other people's eyes? Sometimes I just can't swallow this. I really can't understand people's mindset nowadays. Why do they think it's perfectly fine not to support their own children, and that they don't need to bear any consequences? During these times, I tell myself, why should he get away with this? Why should I be the one raising the child alone, facing such immense pressure as a woman? Raising a child is an obligation of both parents. Isn't this the most basic legal knowledge that everyone should understand? As the saying goes, even a tiger wouldn't harm its cubs, so why can my ex-husband be so indifferent to our child? This time, I've finally figured it out. I understand that I must use legal means to fight for my child's rights, to protect my daughter's rightful interests. No matter the result, I've decided to proceed.
今天9月1日，我又问我前夫去要钱了。
Today, I asked my ex-husband for child support again. In fact, I know very well that I probably won't get any money. Think about it. He didn't even give me a penny for the betrothal gifts. How could he possibly give me money after the divorce? More precisely, he wouldn't give a single cent to either me or our daughter. Why haven't I contacted him for 3 years and suddenly I asked him for child support? The main reason is that a few days ago he took the initiative to contact me, wanting to re-establish a connection. Ever since I gave birth, he left me and the baby in the hospital, then disappeared without caring about our lives. When we were still together, he never even visited the baby once, always working in another city. Now that we are divorced, it's one thing for him not to contact me, but why does he suddenly want to see the child and even mention giving us some money? I truly feel like he's trying to play me for a fool. In our phone conversation a few days ago, he roughly indicated that he wanted to see our daughter and told me that his life has been going well recently. He bought a car, got a house, and is better off than before. If it were the old me, I would have definitely scolded him. Just think about it. A man who hasn't cared for his wife and daughter for 3 years suddenly shows up saying he has money. Moreover, I suspect he's just saying nice things without any real action or actual money given to me. You tell me, isn't there something wrong with a man like this? I really want to share with everyone that I've encountered such a smart man. It's truly one of my life experiences. However, I'm very clear-headed now, and my sisters all know that I've matured quite a bit over the past 3 years. My ex-husband's issues really don't affect me anymore. I'm just sharing my changes over these 3 years in my spare time. I've been growing while he seems to be standing still. Suddenly made me deeply realize that a person's maturity and sense of responsibility are not related to age, but rather to their inner upbringing. After my divorce, I'm now dating a guy who is 5 years younger than me. He's more mature in every way and very responsible. My ex-husband, who is 7 years older, feels like a little baby to me. What are responsibility and maturity, really? My ex-husband seems to understand nothing of this. So sisters, when dating, truly don't just look at age. I used to look down on younger men, but now I find younger men much more attractive. I don't know how these young men in China have become so mature over the years. Now I'm working hard to earn money, taking good care of myself, maintaining my skin, and pursuing a better life. As for my ex-husband, I will continue to ask him for child support for our child.
Here are my sincere suggestions for girls preparing for divorce and considering becoming single mothers. Do not take divorce lightly without financial security. If there's no one to help you care for your children, please think carefully. Being a single mother comes with enormous challenges. Balancing earning a living and taking care of children is extremely difficult. You may want to work, but this often means you can't spend time with your kids. Conversely, if you choose to focus on your children, your work will be affected. I know a divorced woman. During a chat, she told us that her life after divorce is not as beautiful and free as she imagined before. After her divorce, she immediately started looking for a job, but found it difficult to secure one that would allow her to both earn money and take care of her children. Her eldest son is 5.5 years old, and her youngest son is 2.5. In China, kindergartens typically require parents to pick up their kids by 3:30 p.m. in the winter and 4:30 p.m. in the summer. What kind of job allows you to leave so early to pick up your kids? Especially when the children get sick, she feels helpless. Without financial support, she struggles to afford medical care for her children. And without parents nearby to rely on, the physical exhaustion and mental pressure can be overwhelming, making it easy to feel on the verge of a breakdown. Now, she bears the burden of the family alone, responsible for her children's daily meals and routines. She has to drop them off in the morning and pick them up in the evening, while also providing enough companionship and education. She needs to earn money to support her kids, and she must maintain a good mindset to face all of this. You can hardly imagine how difficult it is for her. She told me that sometimes she feels like she's about to break down. If it weren't for her inner strength, she wouldn't have made it this far. Initially, she felt that her husband was not as good as other husbands, always finding faults with him and thinking he didn't earn enough. She thought that after the divorce, she could find a better man and achieve a better life. Unexpectedly, her ex-husband agreed quickly, and she got the children without a struggle. Years later, she has not found a suitable partner and now feels that life is increasingly difficult. Therefore, I advise girls who are considering divorce that life's hardships are numerous and never underestimate their impact. Without a financial foundation, it's hard to move forward. If you divorce easily, you will face daily pressures to earn money, and the hardships of life will leave you exhausted. During this time, you will be alone with only your tears as company, and once you've cried, you have to steel yourself to keep going. Thus, unless absolutely necessary, do not choose divorce. You may currently feel that your marriage is terrible, but after the divorce, you will find that earning a living alone is an even greater challenge. If you lack a stable income source and cannot support yourself and your children, that is truly frightening. So, if you do not have a stable income and no reliable family support, do not lightly consider divorce to become a single mother. The difficulties of life may leave you feeling powerless. You may struggle to raise your children and maintain your own livelihood, which can be incredibly painful. It truly is a bitter struggle. Do you agree with my viewpoint? Please feel free to leave your comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to provide you with better content. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.